Lived in Southwest for more than 48 years. My parents decided that after graduating from a junior college of business in Durham, that I should go farther afield as opposed to returning to the tobacco fields of North Carolina. I loved it, and I thought this is going to be home. I was invited to be a part of the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, and I liked its mission, which was to improve the quality of life for its residents, regardless of who they were, race, economics, gender, and all of that. I always feel like that I'm walking a line of the haves and the have-nots. I have a role to continue to work so that both sides of the community can continue to come together. Our nation's capital has one of the largest mortality rates of breast cancer. I felt like I couldn't go through this disease without parting my knowledge and experience to help others. So I created the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. This is where I gave to a community that gave to me. I still love Southwest, and Southwest still loves me. I'm Thelma D. Jones. I've lived in Southwest for more than 48 years.
It's beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, beautiful video.
It's really lovely, Thelma.
Thank you. And Lisa, if you would like to put up some of those pictures, I'm just trying to buy, because probably in a few more minutes we should start, because if not, we might lose the audience. Do you want to show some of the pictures from the ACS event?
Okay, let me get them up.
So while she's doing that, Mother's Day weekend, the American Cancer Society hosted a brunch, blush and brunch, and it was the second one. Last year was really nice as well, and we were at the Fairmount Hotel in Georgetown. And this event was in support of Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, which, as you may know, have received information about the walk that's coming up in October. And the event was full of activities, from the brunch, of course, with a great array of food. We had speakers, Kristen Bissett, formerly of WSA9, was the MC. Are you ready now, Lisa?
Yeah, I think I can. Pictures and video. Let me see. Share my screen. Oh, it's a lot of this video. Okay, let me share my screen. Let's see. Share. Oh, I have to send a request. I'm sending a request to you.
Awesome. I accepted.
Okay. Share. Okay, I think everybody might be able to see my screen now. Okay, I'll just go through some of the pictures. So that was some of the pictures. Centerpieces were really gorgeous. So some of the centerpieces on the table. And then Cecily was there as well.
I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Can you see my screen?
No? Can the rest of you see it?
No, not yet.
Okay, let's see.
No, nope, not at all.
Hmm.
Lisa Baines is host now. This is what it's saying.
Okay, let me see. Something when I guess when let me on the screen, let me see. It's not letting me. You can't see anything on the screen?
No.
Nothing on my screen?
Only we see each other's pictures.
Oh. Let me you see each other's pictures. Well, that's weird. So I'm trying to. All right, I'm trying to stop the save. This is what's weird how it stopped. I may have to go in and out. You still see just that, so I'm trying to stop my share. I might have to go off and come back in.
I think we could use the time to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, and I'll try to end this share.
Okay.
You still see stuff, you still see your pictures, right? So let me go out and somebody enter the waiting room. This looks like I have hosting, so something's going really awry. So let me leave out and come back in.
Can you point me as a host before?
I don't want to leave. You put me as host. That's what it is. Can you take back the host setting?
No, because you're the host now.
Okay, so how do I give you back? That's what it is. How do I give you back the host?
You scroll on my picture, and in the corner you're gonna see
Yeah.
like 3 points, and then the option point as a host or something like that.
Okay.
Make host.
Make you host. Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Am I still sharing though?
Now I'm the host, I think.
Stop my share. Yeah. For some reason, something went with that.
Okay.
Okay. I still see this 1 and 2 on my screen. Let me see if I can.
Astrid will have to get a response with Dr. Huerta.
I'm gonna leave and come back.
He doesn't hear me. Let me see if I can call her. Well, I think this would be a great time to introduce ourselves because we do happily have some new people on the line. So why don't we start with our MC introducing herself?
Hi, everyone. Good to see you. My name is Alejandra Hurtado, and I'm an associate professor at Georgetown University. I am a cancer disparities researcher, and I've had the pleasure of knowing Ms. Jones and working with Ms. Jones since 9 years ago, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And you are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of being a tenured professor.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, since I've never really made the tenure track, could you just tell me a little bit about what we have to do to enjoy the tenure track?
I'm not sure if it's enjoyable, the process to get there, but once you get it.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you don't want to tell us about it.
Oh, no, no. Yeah, so there's different tracks in the university. So you have the education track, research track, and tenure track. And then if you go in the tenure track, you have like 7 years to accomplish different things, including like publishing papers, like writing grants, and like making an impact within the like scholarly research. And then like that will determine whether you get tenure or not. If you get tenure, that gives you it's like a recognition, but also like stability within the like academic career, which is really important. The stressful thing is that if you don't get it, it's like an all or nothing. So if you don't get it, then you're basically they kick you out of the university in a year. So it's really like a very stressful moment. But I'm very glad that I got it. And it was also thank you to all the work that we have been doing together. So thank you.
Well, congratulations. The only thing I can compare that with is achieving a pink Cadillac in Mary Kay. And if you don't keep the sales up, they take your Cadillac back. And it's very embarrassing because you're driving to all around your friends in your pink Cadillac. And then all of a sudden, you no longer have the pink Cadillac when they ask, oh, so what happened to your pink Cadillac? And you have to explain your sales didn't make it, so they took it back. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Sherry. And I guess this is like trying to pass the bar exam too, huh, Sherry? If everybody knows you're going to take the bar exam and you don't pass. And Astrid, yeah, you could
So you're allowed
speak
to
to that
take it
too.
again. You don't get kicked out. You just have to go through with pulling out your eyelashes and taking it again. I'm Sherry Dinkinson. I'm a 15-year breast cancer survivor. And I am passionate about women's health. I'm an ambassador for Thelma Jones Breast Cancer Fund, and I think involved for 15 years because my breast cancer anniversary and the anniversary of the support group coincide. So happy to be around such great people and speakers that come.
Thank you. Arnett Ibatayo, I know you're on and I see your hand up, so I want to recognize you. You're muted, Arnett. You are still muted. Okay, so we're going to come back to you.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
now
God.
you're unmuted. You're okay now.
Okay. How is everybody doing? I'm Arnett Ibitayo, and I'm glad to be on to listen to the topic. And it's been 10 years since my diagnosis of breast cancer, and I'm newly diagnosed with colon cancer. So I'm going through a battery of tests, and I'm been a part of Thelma Jones, which has been amazing and been so helpful to me through my journey. I appreciate the cancer support group that has given me much encouragement. And she does so much for the community and supplies me with all kind of resources. And I appreciate her so much. So kudos to Thelma Jones support. Thank you.
Thank you. we wanted to hear more about you because you mentioned, and the audience was not aware that you're triple negative.
Yes. Mhm.
And you were also diagnosed with another cancer some years ago.
I was first diagnosed with uterine cancer, which is known as endometrial cancer, in '08. So I'm facing a third diagnosis of cancer, which is colon cancer. So I'm going through the journey of battery of tests, what they asked me to do. And I'm going to do just fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we will certainly keep you uplifted in our prayers. And you know, as I said to you last night,
Mhm.
please call me, not if you need something, but when you need something, when we can help you.
Appreciate that so much. Thanks so
And we
much.
still want you to remember that we don't want you to travel your journey alone.
Thank you.
Annette is also scheduled to share her story at an event that the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is having on Saturday, May 31st, and it's entitled, What's the Link? It's a
Mhm.
discussion on the link between breast and ovarian cancer. So I hope that all of you will tune in to that. That is an in-person event, and it is also a virtual event. And we have speakers on Zoom as far away as Portland, Oregon. The young lady actually graduated from Howard University, so she has a connection to us in more ways than one. So I hope that you can attend that from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we have an optional tour to visit the Thurgood Marshall Gallery at St. Augustine's Episcopal Church. Some of you may know that Thurgood Marshall lived in Southwest, and he and his family attended St. Augustine's Episcopal Church. So again, you're welcome to that. And we also have Karen Hargrove on the line. Karen will also be speaking at the event on Saturday. And Karen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. This is I have to do a short story how I met Miss Jones. I just happened to, first of all, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. My first diagnosis was back in 1998. And then I got diagnosed again, December 2017. So I've been cancer-free since 2000. I'm not getting my program. 2018, I think I completed my treatment. So yes. So I said I'm going to volunteer by any means necessary. So that's what I'm doing. And I just happened to reach out to Miss Jones. I just called and said, look, I got to share my story. She said, she probably thought I was cuckoo, but she was driving and she pulled up and said, okay, tell me your story. And she asked me if I'd be willing to participate in the program this on the 31st. And I said, sure. So that's what I'm doing. I'm a new author. 5 of my church members and I wrote a book to collaborate our journey with cancer. And I said, okay, this is just the beginning for me. So I want to do more and get involved and share and uplift people because it's too many of us, it's too many being diagnosed with cancer. And it has to be a cure. It needs to be a cure sooner than later.
And would you like to share the title of your book?
Oh, yes. It's titled When Cancer Knocks on Your Door. And my chapter is titled When the Highway of Happiness Leads You to a Detour, something like that. But detours could lead to happiness. my goal is if it's just to smile and to share my story, if that's uplifting, then I feel good about doing that. I like to travel the journey with people, however I can, so they won't have to travel alone. So when cancer knocks on your door, we can answer it together.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for coming today to volunteer.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bria. I think Bria's one of the youngest people we have online.
Can you see and hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you doing?
I am better. Today is a better day. I'll say it that way. Today is a better day. My name is Bria Hickson. I am currently 33 years old. I was diagnosed September of 2020 with stage 4 inflammatory breast cancer. It's one of the rarest cancers. It affects most young people. The symptoms usually are presented with a heavy breast, a bruised looking breast, meaning purple or blue, or it could be dimpling of the skin. It could be an inverted nipple. So I showed all those signs while I was pregnant with my now almost 5-year-old. So I was pregnant with him, experienced all those symptoms, and I went about 4 months before I was officially diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. I met Miss Thelma at a American Cancer Survivor or American Cancer Society event in 2022, I believe. I had just moved. My husband's in the military, so we moved from Hawaii to the DC area for me to receive treatment. And I met her at an event, and we've been connected ever since. My goal throughout my journey is to advocate, but I'm actually struggling with that right now. When I go to get chemo, because I am stage 4, it's an everlasting receipt of medicine. But when I go into these spaces, I don't see people who look and sound like me. So I'm trying to advocate. I'm just stuck right now on how to do that because I don't see too many young people. I don't see too many brown, Black people. So I'm in a space right now where I want to do more. I'm just not sure how to do more. Recently, about a month ago, the cancer metastasized to my liver. So I was actually called by my oncologist to speak with hospice, and my husband and I have been on this journey now on should we work with hospice or not, because I'm feeling fine. I have no ailments, I don't hurt. The only thing is just my bilirubin is up. So that's what my family's going through. I do have 3 little ones. I have a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So we're just kind of navigating this journey together because I was told a month ago I had less than a year, and then 3 weeks ago I was told I had a couple of weeks. So really just trying to spend as much time with my family as I can while also advocating for younger people.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And, you know, anytime you want to speak about your journey and inflammatory breast cancer, you know, the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund has that platform for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And we hope to see you on Saturday, March the 31st. Of course, if you want to speak in person, you're welcome to, but if you want to do the video as we discussed, we welcome that as well.
Okay, I could do that. Thank you all, and nice seeing you all.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for being here. Astrid,
Well,
I
first,
love your hair.
thank you. Good evening. I'm Astrid Jimenez. For the last 9 years, I have been the executive director of Nueva Vida, a support health network for Latinas with cancer. And I am a cancer survivor, not from breast cancer, but from uterine cancer.
And, well, I was going to say, do you want to tell us a bit about Nueva Vida, but then you're going to speak later on, and I
Yeah.
don't want to steal your thunder. Okay. Lisa.
Yes, and you know, same thing, Bria. I know Bria, so Bria, same thing. Just call me every and anytime, 24 hours, you know. You have my number as well. But I'm Lisa Baines. I'm Associate Director of Development for the American Cancer Society. We of course do our Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk, which is coming up, and we'll talk about that. And also one of our newest initiatives, which is called Voices of Black Women. And it's a study that we're doing and trying to get the word out for women that are in a certain classification to go on ahead and take that study. So looking forward to speaking later on. And of course, like I always say, you don't know anybody if you know Thelma Jones, if you don't know her, then you don't know anybody, because same thing. I always run into her at anything that has to do with anything with women and cancer and treatment and cancer awareness. She's always there. So just pleased to always know her and pleased to be in this group.
Thank you. Elisa and I were together, it was yesterday.
Yesterday.
at Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Policy and Health Equity Summit. And as a matter of fact, I asked the gentleman to go over and introduce himself to you. I don't know if he did.
Yes, he did. Jones, another gentleman, but yeah, Edward something Jones, right? And in the chat, if hopefully y'all can see it, I put the link for all the pictures in the chat, because for some reason I don't know what happened with the showing it, but I put hopefully you can see it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. We'll check that out. Astrid, just a question: were you able to get a response from Dr. Huerta, or is he on the line?
No, I sent him a text message and, he did not respond to my text message. I sent him an email and he hasn't responded to the email.
Oh, okay.
I can try
Thank you.
calling him if you want.
Please do, because I'm thinking maybe he's tied up at the radio station. And by the way, that was why we moved the meeting from 6:30 to 7 o'clock, because Dr. Huerta was on the station and I wanted to give him time to, wrap up and then join us. Okay, Scarlett Small, who is one of her great claim to fame is she is my high school classmate from Snow Hill, North Carolina.
Good evening, everyone. Again, thanks to Thelma. I've been actually attending the support group meetings since around 2013. And although not a cancer survivor, I've been a caregiver for my daughter who was diagnosed with lupus. And she's no longer with us in 2016. And I just found that the information shared at these meetings are very valuable, and I'm able to pass on information to other people and also get them connected with Thelma and other people within her circle. So I'm very happy to be here. And I started out as once, I want to keep saying once, volunteer. And then I end up being like a full-time employee every week for her. So it's been a journey, and I'm glad to be able to help. And I'm also serve as a member per board. Thank you.
Scarlett just doesn't know how lucky she is that I chose her to volunteer like that. Everybody's not getting, oh, Dr. Huerta is on the phone. He's coming on. Okay. And Scarlett introduced the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund to Arnett. And so that's how Arnett became connected, and the two of us, or the three of us, have been joined together at the hips. Dr. Huerta, buenas noches.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm very, very sorry.
It's okay. We knew you were coming on, and a person of your magnitude and worldly recognition, we're just very fortunate that you are here.
No, thank you very much. I'm really, really sorry, Thelma, to be this late. Okay? Okay, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And are we good on time, or do we need to adjust it for you to start speaking now, or?
It is okay. It is okay. Absolutely okay.
Okay, so just what we were doing, we're going around and introducing people, and I think we have a couple, 2 or 3 more, and then we will continue on with the program.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, Sergio.
You would like me to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes. My name is Sergio Jimenez. I am from Mexico, and I dedicate my life to marketing, design, websites, and businesses. And I'm currently helping Miss Thelma doing her marketing and website. And I love the mission that she has here. And I'm here to support and happy to be here.
And you have a connection to cancer.
Yes, that's right. My husband died from lung cancer, stage 4, 2 years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
so I can comprehend a little bit the pain and the stress and suffering that brings to the family.
Thank you. And Sergio is a Southwest resident. We live less than
Also neighbors.
yeah, we live less than a block apart, and he is also a very dedicated volunteer with the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund COVID outreach program, where we serve tons of meals and lunches to seniors and families in Southwest, particularly River Park. Thank you. Roberta?
Hello. Hi, Thelma. Hi, everyone. I'm trying to see if I can get my camera on. Hi, my name is Roberta Bell, and Thelma and I serve on the council, cancer-related council at Howard University Hospital. I retired from Howard in 21 after 44 years as a maternity nurse. I'm a breast cancer survivor and an advocate, and I just try to join every time I can. And I want Lisa to know that I work with my missionary society, and I'm the health person, so I'm really trying to encourage my members to sign up for the research that you're doing. So I would like to speak with you. Maybe I can get your number from Thelma. You can put it in the chat, but I'm really working on that. But I enjoy working with Thelma. She's something else, and I try to get on to support her every time I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. And Jan Adams, my honorary board member, and I should mention I am broadcasting live from her beautiful place on the Southwest waterfront at the Amaris. So thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Thelma. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Jan Adams, as Thelma said. I'm an honorary board member of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, and proud to be so. I'm a 24-year Air Force veteran and originally from Ohio. I've been in DC about 25 years now, and I own a couple businesses. One's aviation consulting firm, and another is electrical supply. So I have been one of my best friends passed away with breast cancer several years ago. We used to travel a lot, so I used to sit with her through her chemo treatments at Washington Hospital Center, and she's out of Raleigh, but she used to come here because her son played basketball here, and she would be here a lot. So I would go with her to her treatment. So it's just always so heart-wrenching, some of the stories that you all are sharing with us, but enlightening at the same time, that you are strong, you're resilient, you're determined to get through this, and the support network that it surrounds you of all the people who say, call me whenever, call me when you need me. It's so inspiring. So I'd like to say I'm here as well, and would be proud to support and help any of you at any time. Thank you, Thelma.
Thank you. And you mentioned you own a couple of business. It's actually 3, isn't it?
Yes, it's 3.
So
And
tell
I'm a new
tell us.
owner of a women's soccer team in DC, and I sit on a board at Howard University, the Chadwick Boseman board of visitors. I used to be on the Arena Stage board. I'm off of that African American Civil War Museum board, so I'm all over the place.
Thank you.
And I'm a donor to the a supporter of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund as well. So.
Yes, thank you. I remember when she was telling me that because of her workload, she would be resigning from a number of boards, and my heart sank because I was the tiniest or the least significant of all the many wonderful boards that she was sitting on. And when I learned that I did not get the axe, oh, it's like my blood pressure shot up, and I don't even have blood pressure problems. So thank you, Jan, for still being a part of us. I really appreciate that. And I should mention in the newsletter today, or maybe it was, that came out today, there's a lovely article about her daughter, Ronette Myers. So if you haven't seen or read that story, I encourage you to do so. And it's basically about a teen mom becoming the CEO of her company and graduating from college with her BS degree from the University of Maryland. It is absolutely a wonderful story, to the point that it has inspired me to go back to school and finish my BS and stop making excuses.
Story, Thelma, where is that story published, you said?
I sent it out in our newsletter, so I'll make sure that you get a copy of it too.
I'm very interested.
And thank you. And Ronette is a person who's connected me to different people, some breast cancer survivors. She also connected me to Janelle Ross, who is the first African-American woman in the world to own a Mercedes-Benz dealership. And Janelle is out of Dayton, Ohio, with Bob Ross Auto Group. And the connection that Ronette made with Janelle and I is phenomenal. We stay in touch with each other, and Janelle has been a generous donor of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund as well. So please, Jan, thank Ronette on our behalf.
Will do. Thank you, Thelma.
Thank you. And I think there's one other person that's a new phone. I'm not for sure who that is. Would you like to introduce yourself? Okay. Well, maybe they're on mute, but I think we are going to move on with the program. Thank you, everyone, for the introduction and for sharing your connections and story. I'm going to turn it now over to our MC, Professor Alejandra Hurtado de Mendoza, who is, as we said earlier, a tenured professor at Georgetown University. Alejandra?
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones. Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alejandra Hurtado, and as Ms. Jones was mentioning, I'm recently a tenured associate professor at the Cancer Prevention and Control Program at Georgetown University. I am very honored to serve as MC in the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund meeting, and this speaks to our friendship and all our work that we've done together, and it's a vote of confidence since I have had the honor of speaking and being at different capacities at the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund for at least 5 times. I have also joined the meeting from Spain and from Guatemala since we met 9 years ago, and I also coordinated my mom's speech from Guatemala a couple of years ago. So it's all within the family. And I will share later how we met and how the basis of our friendship has been mutually rewarding for both of us and also for our organizations. So I don't have to tell you that we have a wonderful program in store, as every Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund monthly support group meeting is exciting, is filled with hope, inspiration, lots of useful evidence-based information, and a robust Q&A. And tonight is no exception. Also, these meetings always welcome great guest speakers like today, the internationally renowned Dr. Elmer Huerta, who we will hear from him later. And as a reminder, tonight's meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Facebook page within 24 hours. So the theme tonight is an ounce of prevention, the essence of early detection in reducing cancer. So more than 287,000 women in the US are expected to be diagnosed with breast cancer this year, including more than 620 women in Washington, D.C., 5,600 women in Maryland, and 7,600 in the state of Virginia. There are also stark disparities in breast cancer outcomes, and African American breast cancer survivors have a 40% higher mortality rate compared to non-Hispanic whites. Hispanic breast cancer survivors are more likely to be diagnosed at more advanced stages. And we all know that early detection saves lives and creates better outcomes, not only in breast cancer, but also in other chronic and acute diseases in general. Therefore, it's really important to see your doctor immediately when something appears out of the ordinary. And it's also equally important to have your annual physical exam so that you can develop an ongoing trusted relationship with your doctor or care team. I am very excited about hearing about Dr. Huerta with more details on the importance of prevention and early detection as it relates to reducing cancer incidence and mortality rates. But before we get started with the main program, I'd like to remind you again that the program is being recorded. And with that in mind, I would like to invite Ms. Thelma D. Jones, the founder of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, to welcome us and give some opening remarks.
Thank you, Alejandra. And like you, I am excited about this evening and welcoming Dr. Huerta back to speak on our theme about early detection, prevention, and the importance of the two. Tonight is kind of like a big family, you know, from our high school classmates to my sisters in the struggle with cancer, cancer advocates, and of course my website, Buddy, among others, if I didn't name your category. And you'll see that this is like a family. And even though our theme is about an ounce of prevention and emphasizing the importance of early detection, which is one of the things that the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer focuses on, early detection and reminding our sisters and brothers in the fight that no one should have to walk their journey alone. The Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund's mission is to advocate and improve the overall health and well-being of women and men, as we have to support them in outreach, education, and all of this is to help to reduce the incidence and mortality rate of breast cancer. And our vision is to help to achieve a world free of breast cancer. And through the outreach work that we're doing, such as like this, our signature program, our support group, we aim to do that. We want to reach out to you in outreach. And if we don't reach you, we have open doors to know that you are always welcome to reach us. And on the family analogy, I've worked closely with Nueva Vida, who is headed by Astrid Jimenez that you'll hear from later on. Alejandra, Professor Mendoza has noted how we have worked together, and she'll tell a bit more. And I'd be remiss if I didn't emphasize the fact that I feel that I'm part of a family with Dr. Huerta because our work crossed paths. I remember when I first met him and I thought, oh gee, I really want to invite him to speak. And of course, he came in 2022, I think it was. And then there was the time that he was speaking with, it was DC Primary Care Association, I think about last year. And I was thinking, oh, he's gotten very famous now, so I may won't be able to invite him back. But I saw him last October at Georgetown's Gift of Life breakfast over at the Rise Center. And there are people standing around him. You know that scene when somebody is popular, well-known, and well-respected, trying to get to him. And I thought, I'm just going to try to go over and speak to him. Of course, he's not going to remember me, but I'm going to speak anyway. And I went over and said hello. And lo and behold, he called out my name, Thelma. I said, you still remember me? And he said, of course. Why wouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? And I just felt so honored for all the people he knows throughout the world and meets and all that's on his mind that he still remembered little old Thelma. So Dr. Huerta, I really appreciate that. That made my day and year. And of course, this is why I invited you back to speak. So I'm not going to keep going on, but I am so happy that you are here and that you're still a part of this one big happy family. So thank you. And Alejandra, I will turn it back to you.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Jones, for your welcome and opening remarks. We always appreciate learning about all the efforts, accomplishments from the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. And now I would like to welcome Astrid Jimenez, which is also like another family member for me. She's the Executive Director of Nueva Vida, and she will be doing the opening remarks. Nueva Vida is a nonprofit organization that provides navigation services and support for Latina women with breast cancer in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And it's also an organization that I've had the pleasure of working for many, many, many years. So please, Astrid.
Well, first, good evening and thank you for the invitation. When Thelma invited me, I jumped at the opportunity as always. One of the things is 9 years ago, I walked into a new position, and it was Executive Director of Nueva Vida, a support health network for Latinas with cancer. And 9 years ago, I walked into Thelma's life and she walked into mine. I must confess that I didn't know exactly what to make of Thelma, if she was an earthquake, a typhoon, a tsunami, or a storm. She is definitely a force of nature in the community, and she's a force of nature in the breast cancer arena. So thank you so much for the invitation, Thelma. I've had the pleasure of working with Thelma on a number of projects. Some of them are also with Alejandra Hurtado de Mendoza. We worked together in a COVID-19 project, and we've also worked in an acupressure, for instance, project as well. This is a family reunion, and in a sense, also, some of the remarks that I'm going to make is about family. But I want to tell you a little bit about Nueva Vida. Nueva Vida is a 25-year-old organization. And tonight, we're going to have one of our founders be the main speaker. Dr. Elmer Huerta is one of the founders of Nueva Vida. So I'm extremely honored and somewhat scared of be talking, in the same venue as he is. So thank you for being here, Dr. Huerta, as well. In the 25 Nueva Vida services are actually free, and we go from education, outreach, patient navigation, diagnostic exams, prevention exams, and also we have the support groups that are extremely important, for the Latinas. They're conducted in Spanish, and in a way that is linguistically appropriate, obviously, and culturally competent. Very important, for the women, Latinas that have cancer. And just to give you a rough idea of how many women we have served in the last 13 years, we have been able to provide 15,316 free cancer screenings, 3,129 free diagnostic screenings. We have attended over 2,000 outreach events. And in the mental health groups, we have served over 2,700 women as well. So, and we only serve Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and some of the counties in Maryland. And one of them actually does include Baltimore. But in Maryland is Prince George's County and Montgomery County. So what can I say? I mean, it is a challenge, as we all know, once you get the cancer diagnosis. And in this community, access to cancer care is incredibly important. This is a community that has many challenges, language challenges, educational challenges, a number of socioeconomic challenges that are experienced by other immigrant communities as well. And oftentimes, when we're talking about, the African-American community and the Latino community, for some reason, and I think it's probably human nature, we concentrate on the things that divide us. And that's not what we should be talking about. We should be talking about the things that unite us. And I want to, just like, I have become great friends, with Thelma, and her group, and I can count on her and she can count on us. Just want to tell you, some of the things that we share as communities. Strong family bonds. Thelma started talking about family. Yes, this is a family in more ways than one. Both communities also, have a strong sense of community, and we have a greater emphasis on community well-being. It's not just the individual one, as we know, we do, I do. No, we move in a community. And as a friend of mine said, the Latinos are just like they're moving in herds, they're groups, you invite one, to a party and, 15 show, along, with that one. And, that has always also been, a wonderful experience for me when I am, with the African-American community. It is a sense of, the greater collective, with them, and I feel just at home. There's also a resilience and strength to both communities that is often overlooked. And it's often underrated as well. But these are communities that are so strong in overcoming adversity because they have been discriminated, and they have had to face, a number of challenges that perhaps other communities, have not faced in a very long time, or perhaps ever. We also find a great deal of strength, both communities, in, our churches. It's definitely our spirituality, and the religion is a source of strength. And another thing that we share in common is that we have a very vibrant cultural expression. We love music, dance. We express ourselves, through food, through literature, through art. We express ourselves through colors. Really, if you see somebody, let's say, that comes from the Caribbean, walking down the street, and all you see are like, very bright colors, in their clothing, well, you're going to see the exact same thing, somebody that actually, comes from Africa. Incredibly bright colors. And if you have ever seen Thelma Jones, you'll see all those colors, in her wardrobe. So, and that is something so common to, to both communities. The other thing is respect. We have a great deal of respect for our elders and for our authorities. And one of the authorities that we have great respect for are doctors. And that's something that we need to be very mindful. The doctors need to be very mindful as well. Oftentimes, in the Latino community, if you're dealing, with, the challenging community that I'm dealing with, a doctor is often seen as a demigod. And a doctor's word, can actually give you life or give you death in a sense, depending upon how things are phrased. There's another thing that unites, the two communities is that breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in both communities. And that's not as good. But we really need to set these times, our sight in what really unites us, not in what divides us. Because in reality, we're like, one soul in two bodies. And if we're going to survive breast cancer or any type of cancer, or the serious challenges that lie ahead, challenges that are creating more health disparities, well, we really need to unite. And we need to gain strength from each other. We need to stand up, and we need to ensure that our women and our communities have access to state-of-the-art cancer care. And this is the only way that we're going to go forward, because together, we can go forward, or, like Eleanor Roosevelt said, together we can sink. And we're not about to sink. I just want to end up, with the message of, union and how we need to be together. The medical message is going to be, done by our wonderful Dr. Elmer Huerta, who, as I said, Dr. Huerta is one of the founders of Nueva Vida. And just a little thingy about this is Nueva Vida was founded as an act of compassion, because we had an oncologist and Dr. Huerta. We had, 3 women and an economist, a psychologist, and a psychiatrist. The women had experienced breast cancer, and they were professional women. Their families were here. They did not have any issues with English. They had the support of their families. They had the support of insurance. And when they were going through all, these challenges, they all looked around and they said, if we're having such a difficult time going through this, can you imagine a woman that doesn't have her family here, giving her support, a woman that has language challenges, a woman that doesn't have insurance? What is it that they're feeling, and how difficult it must be? So that act of compassion led to the creation of Nueva Vida. And like I said, since that creation 25 years ago, thousands and thousands of Latina women in the DMV area have actually profited from all the services that we give. So thank you so much, for the invitation tonight. I always jump, when I have an invitation from my dear friend and then my sister, Miss Thelma Jones.
Thank you very much, Astrid, for these opening remarks, for sharing the impressive work that Nueva Vida does, and especially for this beautiful and inspiring speech on the things that unite both communities. Thank you so much. And now that you've heard a bit about Ms. Jones' connections with both Dr. Huerta and Astrid, I want to share a little bit about how we met and our friendship, and like some of the work that we have been doing together. And I think I might have shared this story in the past, but we met 9 years ago when I was transitioning. I used to work at psychiatry, and I recently started working on cancer prevention and control. And I was organizing focus groups. Sorry, you're hearing my co-MC in the background. I was organizing focus groups about barriers to adhere to hormonal therapy for breast cancer survivors. So I got a list, and I had to call potential participants and invite them to the study. And one of them was Ms. Jones. So the minute we started talking, it became an hour conversation. It was very inspiring. And at the end of the call, she mentioned, by the way, do you need more people to participate? And I was like, of course. I was had been calling for 2 months. So she invited me to one of the support group meetings that was in person, and it was an honor for me to be there. It was very inspiring to meet all the survivors, to hear the stories, the information. And then I invited everybody to a focus group, and it was the largest focus group I have ever seen, to the point that we had to do 2 focus groups instead of 1. And also the funny thing is that in the second focus group, I was very pregnant, and I went to a regular checkup, and the doctors told me, no, you're not leaving the hospital, you are going to deliver today. But that was the day of the focus group, and I had been organizing it for months. Everybody had my contact information. So as I was about to have a C-section, the participants were calling me because they didn't find the place, and I was like answering the phone calls, and then the doctor would come and I said, okay, seriously, like you're about to have a baby, like just like stop. So this time with my second baby, I decided to deliver it in Spain, so I wouldn't have temptations. But I think this talks about the passion and commitment that we all share here for our important work. And then throughout these years, I've had the privilege of working with Ms. Jones and also with Astrid in Nueva Vida in many different projects, including one to develop a website about COVID-19 for African American and Latina breast cancer survivors, another one to assess the impact of acupressure in quality of life also for African American and Latina breast cancer survivors, and the input and contributions of both the Thelma D. Breast Cancer Fund and Nueva Vida have been invaluable to the research and in this community academic collaboration. So thank you so much. So now that I've shared all the stories, I would like to introduce Dr. Elmer Huerta. He earned his medical degree at Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos in Peru. After emigrating to the United States, he completed a 2-year internal residency in internal medicine at St. Agnes Hospital in Baltimore in 1991, and then he embarked on a 3-year fellowship in cancer prevention and control at the National Cancer Institute. He completed a master's in public health at the Johns Hopkins Blumberg School of Public Health in 1992, and Dr. Huerta's experience has developed in 2 main areas: cancer prevention and control and public education. Until recently, he was the founder and director of the Cancer Preventorium at the Washington Cancer Institute at MedStar Washington Hospital Center. And his pioneer model in cancer prevention and early detection is highlighted by the Innovation in the Prevention Award that Dr. Huerta received from the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services in 2004. Furthermore, the Cancer Preventorium was the inspiration for the Patient Navigator Outreach and Chronic Disease Prevention Act, signed by President Bush in 2005. Dr. Huerta was also appointed by President Clinton as member of the National Cancer Advisory Board in 1998 and was the only Hispanic appointed as national president of the American Cancer Society in 2007. Dr. Huerta has also developed a high degree of respect and trust from the Hispanic community at the local, national, and international levels through his radio and television educational programs. He's a senior health correspondent for CNN in Spanish and heard daily nationwide and in Latin America. And I have to say that I've received emails from people in Latin America trying to contact him. And he has a wonderful radio talk show that he can provide more details later, El Consultorio Comunitario, the community clinic of the year, and it's available in Radio America in the Washington, D.C. area, Monday through Friday. And additionally, this can be accessed through internet as well. I've really enjoyed listening to his radio program, and he really has a gift, and he has such a creative way of explaining and unpacking very complex medical information for lay audiences. He's been featured in the spotlight in the Thelma D. Breast Cancer Fund newsletter, which was released today at 2 p.m. And if you have not read the story yet, please do, as it's a must-read article. And finally, I was also going to mention that this is really a family because he was also a founding member of Nueva Vida. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Huerta.
Thank you very much, Alejandra, for the presentation, and thank you very much, Thelma, for your wonderful words. I don't even remember when I met you, but When I met you, I was so impressed for your work. I was so impressed by the way you talk to people and for the passion you demonstrate at every step of the way in educating people. So thank you very much for inviting me tonight, and thank you very much for all you do, Thelma, for human beings. Thank you really for that. I am going to talk to you about the importance of education in cancer prevention and control. And this talk is directed mainly to reflect, all of us to reflect in what the importance of cancer prevention and early detection is, but more importantly, to reflect in the duty we have as human beings to teach other people facts and knowledge that they don't have. That's the intention of this talk. It's a talk of reflection, and hopefully at the end of this brief presentation, you would ask yourself, what I am doing to educate other people, what I'm doing on my daily life to give knowledge to other people, because that is crucial in cancer prevention and control. As you know, cancer encompass more than 200 different conditions, and some of them they have prevention, other they have early detection, other have both prevention and early detection. Unfortunately, most of them they do not have neither prevention or early detection. So what I want to say is that according to scientific studies, there are only 5, one for each finger of my hand. There are only 5 cancers that have prevention and early detection. 5. But the importance, because people may think, my God, only 5 out of 200. Well, these 5 cancers, they explain 75% of all deaths due to cancer in this country, in the United States. So if we do everything we can do to prevent or detect early all of these 5 cancers, we will have a huge impact. What are these 5 cancers that have prevention or early detection or both? Number 1, cervical cancer, women. It has prevention. How? The vaccine, the HPV vaccine that all girls and boys, they need to get after the age of 9. That's prevention. And also, cervical cancer has early detection. How do you do that? By doing the pap smear every 3 years, or if you combine it with the HPV test every 5 years. That is one cancer. Cervical cancer, prevention, and early detection. The second one is breast cancer. Breast cancer, unfortunately, doesn't have a method to completely prevent it, as cervical cancer has with the vaccine, but we have wonderful ways to detect it early. So with the mammogram. So that is number 2, breast cancer. Number 3 is colorectal cancer, cancer of the colon and the rectum. And this is a disease that has both also prevention and early detection. The prevention through lifestyle, your diet, what you eat is extremely important, but the colonoscopy performed every 10 years or every 5 years, according to what they find, is able to detect the polyp, find a polyp, which is a growth inside the colon, and take it out. By taking the polyp out when they do the colonoscopy, you are preventing this polyp to become cancer in the future. But also colorectal cancer has early detection. Why? Because sometimes the polyp they take out is already showing signs of cancer. So you are taking the polyp before it grows and complicates the person. That is number 3. So number 1 was cervical cancer, prevention and early detection, breast cancer, early detection, colorectal cancer, prevention and early detection. Number 4 is prostate cancer, that we just heard the sad news this week about the disease of the former President Joe Biden. And that also is a motivates a reflection from all of us, especially the scientists. They say that men shouldn't get a test of the prostate after the age of 70. According to this, it seems that Mr. Biden had his last checkup of the prostate 14 years ago. So that is probably, we don't know the facts, but one reason why the disease was found late at this time. So I think we should, the same way that breast cancer with the mammogram, revisit the age limit of all these tests. So the number 4 is prostate. We have early detection of prostate cancer. And the number 5 cancer that has early detection is lung cancer, which if a person has smoked 1 pack a day for 20 years or more, after the age of 50, they need to get a low energy CT scan of the chest, and they can find early lung cancer. So you see, these 5 cancers, they have scientifically proven methods of early detection or prevention, and these 5 cancers explain 75% of deaths in this country. All right, so that is the big picture, that if we fight against these 5 cancers, we will make a huge impact in the morbidity and the mortality of people in the United States. But it seems that the country is not prepared, as many other countries in the world, in doing prevention and early detection. Why is that? Because our country here and many other countries in the world, they base their healthcare system in the person who is sick, in the person who already got the condition. It is only after a person has been diagnosed with cancer, in this case, is that the whole care system mobilizes and offers all these kind of treatments, all these kind of different interventions, trying to remediate the problem once it started already. So, Thelma, can I share my screen with the group? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Let me point you as a host.
Okay.
Or you can try to send me the request if it's possible for you.
It is? Okay. Let me see. Can you see that?
Oh, yes, we can see that.
So this is what I want to show you, that the healthcare system is centered in the sick person. What does it mean? For example, all this group of people that we see here could be ourselves, our family members, our friends. What are they waiting for? They are waiting for a symptom to appear. It is only when a person has a problem, bleeding through the rectum, having a lump in the breast, losing some weight, having cough or something, that is when they go to see the doctor at the clinic or the office. And they create an extremely busy illness-loaded primary care system. Why? Because there are so many patients with symptoms that go to the primary care system. And this system is so busy that many times they just go and they use the emergency room as primary care sites that something shouldn't happen. But this is what I was going to tell you, that our system is not prepared to work in prevention and control. If this rectangle here, the green figure, is the the group people in the United States. This in red is the people living with a disease. Patients, they have diabetes, they have cancer, high blood pressure, many different diseases or conditions. Whereas in green is the people who are apparently healthy. Like us, you wake up in the morning, you are okay, you go to bed at night and you're also okay, apparently healthy, no symptoms. But look what happens. In 2023, only 3.2% of the nation's nearly $5 trillion spent on health was spent on public health activities. Only 3.2%. And look, almost 97% of the money that we spent in the United States is spent in a person with sickness. You see, wouldn't it be wonderful if we have more money for public health activities, for early detection, for prevention, for education, and do not wait until people get sick and then spend 97% of the money there? That's a reflection. So, how can we change this? Is it possible to change that paradigm? And would it be possible to convince people to see a doctor before they have symptoms? Wouldn't it be great that all these people here go to a place when they have no symptoms and they ask the doctor, "Doctor, I'm 43. I never had a mammogram. Would you please examine my breasts and order a mammogram on me? Would you please also order a pap smear on me because I didn't have a pap smear? Also, I smoke. Would you please help me to quit smoking? Also, I'm in the age for my fecal occult blood test in my stools. I don't know if I'm in risk for colorectal cancer." Wouldn't it be nice to have a place, but for people to go without symptoms, just to have a cancer checkup? Like the Jiffy Lubes, where you take your car for the tune-up. The car is working well. So the question is, how can we convince people to see a doctor before they have symptoms in order to develop a health promotion, disease prevention-based system, to have a less illness-loaded primary care system? Wouldn't it be nice to have early cancer found much more oftenly? In other words, how to go from this, and I'm sorry if I disturb you with these pictures, but these are real people with advanced cancer. Look at this breast cancer. Look at these tumors. How to go from this, which is advanced cancer that happens here in the United States, it happens here in Washington, D.C., that saturates a cancer health system with incurable and advanced disease. How can we go from here to here? Right here, there are some calcifications, and this is a very early breast cancer. Curable. Or do a colonoscopy, and that is a polyp which is showing some early changes for cancer. Or a pap smear, which is showing early cervical cancer. In other words, how do we go from this advanced disease to this early disease? How can we go here in order to create a cancer health system which is more focused on the care of early disease cases? That is the question for reflections. How can we do that? How can we go to our neighborhoods? How can we go and communicate the message that cancer is preventable? Cancer is detectable? How can we convince people who are afraid of seeing a doctor, who are afraid to having a test, who are afraid of having a mammogram? How can we convince them to go early? That is the challenge for all of us. What I did more than 30 years ago when I came to the United States is to use the media. Because when I was working in Peru as a medical oncologist there, I saw the most advanced cases of cancer that you can imagine. But it was one thing that really caught my attention about those patients with advanced cancer, is that most of those cancers were preventable, were early detectable, but people were there with advanced cancer. There were women with cervical cancer, bleeding through the vagina in huge amounts. Women with breast cancer, as I showed you in the pictures. Men and women with colorectal cancer, so advanced that they couldn't eat anymore. And you know what I found? Is that most of these people with advanced preventable cancers, they didn't know simple facts about cancer prevention and early detection. They didn't know what a mammogram was. They didn't know what a pap smear was. They didn't know that men have to have a prostate exam regularly. They didn't know that colorectal cancer is silent. They didn't know any of these things. But guess what? Most of these people who did not know about prevention and early detection, they knew by heart the soap operas of the time, and they knew by heart all the lives of the singers and the entertainment people. Why? Because the media, the society, was bombarding these communities with entertainment messages, but it was an absence of health education, in this case, cancer prevention and early detection messages. That's why I came to this country to work in cancer prevention and control, leaving behind my life as a medical oncologist. So, and the question persists. How can we convince people to go early? In order to do that, what we need to do is to talk to people, educate people, because we have to remember that we should not only be focusing on the biological factors of cancer, like what we heard our colleagues talking about, the genes and the oncogenes and the angiogenesis, all these wonderful things that are very important for treatment of cancer. But we shouldn't be focusing only on these biological factors of cancer, but we need to focus on the person who is suffering from cancer. If this woman comes with an advanced case of cancer, we have to ask ourselves, how much information does this woman have? Is she poor? When you are poor, your priorities completely change. When I tell a woman, listen, you need to have a mammogram, otherwise you may develop a cancer and then you may have problems in the future. And they told me, Dr. Huerta, you're talking to me about my future. And you know what? I don't even know what I'm going to eat next week or what kind of food I'm going to give to my children. I'm poor. When you are poor, your priorities change. So we need to ask ourselves, who is this woman who's coming with cancer? How much information does she have? Is she poor? What kind of fears does she have? Is she fatalistic and thinks that Her life is already set. There is nothing she can do to change her life. Does she have medical insurance? That's a big problem here. Maybe she has false beliefs. Nowadays, with all these fake news that are circulating in Facebook or all this media, what does she believe on? The language barrier. You see, so in addition to studying the cancer as a tumor, as a biological entity, what we need to study is this woman in the level of knowledge, the attitudes that she has, and the behaviors that arise as consequence of the attitudes. So, again, a reflection. How can we do that? How can we convince women in our neighborhoods to get a mammogram, to go for a checkup? Well, there are probably many ways to do it. The one I choose, as I mentioned before, is to start outreach programs using the media. So I'm not gonna go beyond, but and then I'm gonna just come back here. But I developed radio programs, television programs to work with the Latino community for the last 30 years. And I started a clinic here at the, I started the clinic when I used to work at the Washington Hospital Center, MedStart. I worked there for 25 years. Now, for the last 5 years, I'm at GW at the university here. And I started a clinic called the Cancer Prevention Clinic, the Preventorium. And this cancer prevention clinic only sees people without symptoms. We used to have a sign at the door that said, this place is for people without symptoms only. If you have a problem with your health, the doctor next door can see you. But if you are free of symptoms and you want to have a conversation about prevention and you want to have an early detection test, come in, this place is for you. So we have seen at this cancer prevention clinic almost 40,000 people in the last 25 years. And what is really rewarding is that 95% of these people are people without symptoms. They just understood the value of prevention. They understood that, as I told them in my radio shows, if you came to America to work hard and to make a good life for you and your children, it will be horrible, it will be terrible for you and your family that you develop a condition that could have prevented or detected earlier. That's why you need to see your doctor before you have a symptom. Measure your blood pressure, find out about your blood sugar, find out about your cancer screenings. You need to have a healthy life. That's what I told them in my radio show every day. So that's why these people come here to the cancer prevention clinic, and we have seen all these people. But that is one way to do it. Another way, which is also extremely useful, is to work with community health workers. I think we need to have a cadre, to have dozens, hundreds of community health workers in the neighborhoods, because the media can do some impact, of course, but we need to have more impact walking on the streets. And that's when Thelma and her group worked so nicely, really involving neighborhoods, people at the neighborhood level. When I used to work at the Washington Hospital Center, before I came here to GW, we found something very, very disturbing. We did a study in which we found out that in Washington, D.C., at that hospital, we had 21% of cases of breast cancer that were stage 3 and 4, advanced breast cancer, 21%. And when you review the national statistics, in the United States, less than 10% of cases are stage 3, 4, advanced cancer. So what was the reason that in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, we had double the rates of advanced cancer, stage 3, 4 cancer of the breast? We did a little study there, and you know, we found out that 99% of those women with advanced cancer, they have health insurance in their pockets. So it's not a problem of access. They have health insurance. They have Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance. So it was not a problem of access. No, come on, no insurance. No. It was a problem of, we did the study, fear. Most of these women were fearful of getting a mammogram. And we asked them why. The answers were many. I'm afraid of getting breast cancer and losing my breast. I'm afraid of losing my husband if I get breast cancer. I'm afraid that I'm gonna lose my hair if I get breast cancer and I get chemo therapy. Look, those answers. Which means, as we said before, that we need to be in the neighborhoods. We need to be talking to people on one-on-one or through the media, as I did with my work, but we need to educate people. We need to convince people that early detection is important, prevention is important. We just did a study here at the university also with colorectal cancer. And when you do a screening for cancer of the large bowel, the colon, you provide the patient with a little kit, which is going to find out if the person has blood in their stools. They do that at home. So nationwide, when you give that kit to people for them to do it at home, the blood test in the stools, 20%, 30% of people send the sample for analysis. Most people say, oh my God, I'm not gonna do this, yuck, and they throw it away. They don't do it. When they do studies and they, for example, educate some people for groups, you can increase the return rate of those tests up to 60%. That's great. In my cancer prevention clinic, we have around 75% return rate, which is higher than everybody else. But I was not happy because it is supposed that these people are motivated to come to cancer prevention. It should be higher. So what I found out is that even though we were educating people, that education was not enough. So I developed a 3 to 5 minute conversation with each person in which I explain what is the large bowel, what is the polyp inside, how do we do this test, and the importance of doing this test at home. And you know what? After that brief intervention that lasted only 3 or 5 minutes of my time, we went to 95% return rate of the colorectal tests, which shows that education is extremely important to people. It is only when people in our neighborhoods, our ladies, understand why a mammogram is important, why this test is important, is that they are going to really interiorize the information and they are going to say, yes, I need this test, I'm going to do it. So that is what I wanted to talk to you this afternoon about the importance of communicating, the importance of educating communities, going to the neighborhoods, talking to people in groups all over the place so we can convince them that early detection and cancer prevention is very important. There are many ways to do it. Media is one way, social media now, community health workers is another way, but we need to be in the neighborhoods. It is only when people understand the importance of taking care of themselves is that they are going to take action and they're going to do cancer prevention and early detection. So if you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer them. Thank you very much, Thelma, again, for inviting me to talk to the group.
Thank you very much, Dr. Huerta, for this thoughtful and inspiring speech and also for highlighting the important role of education. So we're going to go to the Q&A. So there's a question, Ms. Karen?
Good evening. Very great presentation. And I would have to say, I totally agree with that. Of course, I mean, I know you know your stuff, but in my situation with cancer in my family, it didn't run in my family. So prevention was not an issue. It didn't become an issue where people in my family started taking preventive measures is once I was diagnosed. Because we're told that it's genetically linked. If it doesn't run in your family, you're fine. You're not going to get cancer. But that has now changed. People are getting cancer and doesn't even run in their family at all. So now that I'm the one, and my mom, of course, was diagnosed after I was. She's later passed with another type of cancer. So now we're focusing on preventive care. We're watching what we eat. We're paying more attention to. Oh, it's so overwhelmed with not to eat and what to eat. So I think now more so diet plays a role into this as well as the environment. So we pay more attention to our food now that we have cancer in our box is now checked on our medical history. So I just want to emphasize that we're more aware of it now because somebody was diagnosed, but if no one's diagnosed in your family, you think it's not going to happen. You don't go to the doctor or you don't get a mammogram. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It is very true that right after something happened to the person or to the family is that we wake up. That's it, definitely. That's why the oncologist, they call that the window of opportunity to educate the family. I used to do that. I still do. When I found a cancer in one of my patients, I asked the whole family to be there. So that is the moment to and ask the lady, have you had your mammogram? And explain all the issues you're saying, the lifestyle, the diet, the genetics, all that stuff. But also that message that is happening because a case happened, a case of cancer, needs to be placed in the community. And Sunday mornings in churches and community groups, whatever we are, the same package of information needs to be delivered in such a way that the families, they don't wait for a case to happen to start learning the science. Thank you very much, Karen.
Ms. Sherry?
Thank you so much for the presentation. That was fascinating. I don't think many people think about not having anything and going to talk about prevention. Like you said, but once you get breast cancer, for example, you don't realize how many people have it until you start talking to people. And I think what you said about the communities is spot on. You know, obviously there's a lot of issues, a lot of preventative things are covered. I think we're going to see a big decrease in that, which is going to be unfortunate. But I do think there's education of groups. But I'm a quadriplegic of 40 years and also a breast cancer survivor, so which is a very minority of conditions. More and more people are getting older and are going to be in wheelchairs. And just an example today, so I'm deciding to go to a new place because the place I went to yesterday they wouldn't even help me out because they didn't have enough text. And I always call and I educate people, tell them you're in a wheelchair, tell them you need an extra tech, tell them you need extra time, just for a routine mammogram. So this was Virginia Hospital Center. And I called and I told the woman everything. And she asked me, do the arms on your chair move down? And I said, yes. Does the machine go up and down? Yes. I said, I've done this a million times before. I'm a 15-year survivor. 20 minutes later, she called me back. I had to speak to my manager, and I just want to make sure that the arms on your chair come down. And I said, I told you they do. And I thought to myself, I'm an advocate. I know this. I've done this before. But somebody else with a disability, they'd be intimidated. And they'd say, for God's sakes, they had to talk to the manager and they're worried about my chair. I'm not going. And it's a very big issue in the disability community. You know, Thelma knows this is like, I've done webinars for the Reed Foundation. I've tried to get the word out as much as I can. There are OBGYNs doing pap smears in wheelchairs. They're not aware of the new regs that are out. Well, they're being challenged, that you're required to have accessible exam tables that go down to 17 inches. I need a new OBGYN because my blood work just recently showed menopause. And so I asked a friend who's a wheelchair user, and she said, I saw this doctor. I really liked her. She's nice. Because when her staff said they wouldn't help me get back in my wheelchair, she said she would. I was like, I'm not go I mean, this is at the same hospital. So you've hit a lot of the right buttons. But I think in the prevention realm, we also have to talk about being your own advocate. When you go for the preventative screening, when you do that you are the one in charge, not them, and that you're the customer. And I think a lot of people, younger people maybe not, but the medical model really doesn't support that, especially for people that this is, no pun intended, but it's a pain in the ass to do. I mean, getting a mammogram, I call it ugly gymnastics. It's awful for me. And I joked with her on the phone. I'm like, you're lucky. I only have one breast, so it shouldn't take that long. But it's awful. So something to add to your spiel for people to fight back, to push back. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, Ms. Sherry. Yeah, I think that's part of the educational process, is also telling people that they, as you said, being their own advocates. Yeah. In Spanish, I told my listeners something like, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you expect somebody taking care of yourself? So you need to love yourself first, and then you need to be your own advocate, and you need to fight for your own rights. You're very right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Huerta. I have one last question before we move on. I don't think there's any other questions, but please feel free to unmute yourself and ask if there's any other question. My question is about fear. So you mentioned that fear is one of the biggest barriers, and I wanted to get your thoughts on what are the barriers that you anticipate or that you're already witnessing given the current political climate in terms of how will the fear impact cancer prevention in these times? And if you have also ideas about what potential strategies would help to overcome this barrier.
Well, I think at this moment, in terms of cancer prevention, the challenges are for example, the HPV vaccine. That's one of the challenges I see, because with all this climate that we have now, with the release of yesterday's new guidelines for COVID vaccine in the country, we may start hearing in the next future that HPV vaccines are not safe, that they may provoke this or that, and then there's going to encourage parents to vaccinate their kids. That's one thing that we need to do. Another thing is the general fear that certain populations may have of going to see the doctor. I'm talking about immigrants from many different countries that are here, and they are not wanting to go to see the doctors because they are afraid of giving their personal information, their address and names, because they may be contacted by immigration officers. There are a lot of that in the community now. In the Latino community, that's a big problem now. A lot of my patients, when they call for appointments at the clinic, they ask, it's amazing, Dr. Huerta, you don't share your data with anybody, right? I said, no, this data is here, but that's a reality. I think those kind of things are now permeating in the communities and could be a challenge for cancer prevention in the future.
Definitely. Thank you so much again, Dr. Huerta, for this inspiring speech. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jones for the community partner updates, acknowledgements, and announcements. Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandra, and thank you, Dr. Huerta. I am so pleased that this is recorded. And Sergio, it is recorded, right? Okay, thank you. Because we will put this on the website, on the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund's website, so others who miss this can see it, and so that I can look at it again and learn more and share more of what you have said, and particularly around the data on fear and working with African-American women. And I live in a community literally of the haves and have-nots. From where I live, what divides, it's an imaginary dividing line. On one side, it's more privileged people, and on the other side, it's public housing. Southwest DC has the city's largest concentration of public housing. And trying to get information across to them sometimes is very challenging. One of my close friends who's a breast cancer survivor says, I'm sorry that you get upset, Thelma, that I don't come to your meetings, but I don't want to hear all of that information. Like those pictures, had she been on the meeting, I can assure you she would have never come to another one. And she's very influential in the community among the public housing leaders. So the fear and the challenges that she has of taking care of herself is passed on to those that, very close to her. And many of them, a lot of women. She has several sisters, so I can really identify with what you're saying, but I can also appreciate this information because I can keep chiseling away. And maybe clearly we can't save everybody, but if we get one, hopefully that one will help to pass the news on. So Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So moving on to the community partners, I'd like to introduce Lisa Beatties, who is the Associate Director of Development for the American Cancer Society Northeast Region. And Lisa's going to talk briefly about women, voices of Black women, and the upcoming Making Stride Against Breast Cancer Walk. Lisa.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And I will be brief because with so much great information, I was just honed in on everything today. But I'm just talking a little bit about a study that we have, and it's called Voices of Black Women. We're looking for a unique perspective. We're looking for Black women between the ages of 25 and 55 with no history of cancer, except for if you had squamous skin cancer, who are living in the United States. And we're going to be following them for about a number of years throughout their maybe about 30 or so years. And it's a non-invasive test. We're just asking questions, and then twice a year you'll be asked, a questionnaire will be emailed to you, and you'll be asked some questions, because we're noticing unusual amounts of high instances of cancer in certain areas among Black women as compared to our other counterparts. And the website for that, we're trying to spread the word for people to take that particular study, and it's voices.cancer.org. And I'm sure Thelma will be sharing that information, as she's also one of our Voices ambassadors to help spread the message for Black women between the ages of 25 and 55 to please sign up and take that study. And then I'll just briefly mention that coming up in October, again, is our Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk. And it's going to be on Saturday, October the 18th at the Tidal Birth Basin in DC. We're expecting again about 6,000 people, where we celebrate our survivors and our thrivers. And we also raise awareness and raise funds for cancer treatments and for cancer research as well. And just a final note, just to let you know, some of the many programs are available on our website, which is cancer.org. A number, which I would like everybody to remember, is our 800 number, and that's 800 227 2345, and that's our cancer helpline number. I always remember it because kind of up there in the age myself, and I'm not even eligible for the study myself, but I remember there being a show called 227, starred Jackie Harry on television. I always remember that. So that's how you can remember that number, 227 2345. A live person will come on 24 hours a day to help you navigate questions that you have, your cancer journey. If you need assistance, rides, free rides to treatment. We do have the Baltimore Hope Lodge, where people can go and you can stay if you are for treatment, and they'll ride you back and forth. You can even have a caregiver stay with you. So there are a number of programs and other things that are available, but just to make sure people know that there are resources available, and to call that number and someone will come on the line 24 hours, a live person. So thank you so much, Thelma, for allowing me to share a little bit of information as we are going on and closing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's always.
And you're on mute. I think you went back on mute. You're on mute, Thelma. There you go.
This new fancy laptop. I was saying thank you so much for being with us. It's always great to have you here to share information about the American Cancer Society and keep us on our toes of when the walk is coming. So thank you again. And our next community partner is a representative that's hailing all the way from Dallas, Texas, the Big D. Is Sylvia Powers, who is the project coordinator with NCBC, or the National Consortium of Breast Centers. And Sylvia is going to talk to us about, very briefly, about the importance of advocacy. And we've heard that word mentioned a number of times this evening. So Sylvia, it's all yours.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I will also be very brief. I want to thank you, first of all, Thelma, because you also are my co-chair for our 2026 conference, and you also co-chair my advocacy committee, which is amazing. And we get a chance to work with advocates that are all over the country, working in the trenches to help with grassroots efforts for meals, transportation, food, and also working for early detection, mammogram screening. And the National Consortium of Breast Centers has facilities all over the country. They work with professionals as far as radiologists, technicians, doctors, oncologists, surgeons. And we want to help to bridge the gap, because a lot of times when you deal with survivors, you deal with advocates, and you look at the medical community, there is this huge gap between their communication, and our objective is to bridge that gap, because we can learn from each other. And as our theme was last year, we are stronger together. Thelma is definitely an indicator as she tries to bring all aspects of the community together for the support group meetings to enlighten everyone, because we are like a hand with all the fingers together. We individually, we have power, but when we come together, we are a fist and a force to be reckoned with. So I thank you for that. I will put my email in the chat, because we hosted our conference at the Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. It was amazing information, a 3-day conference, but we're giving professionals the opportunity to attend that conference virtually in June. And for those that need credits, registered nurses, technicians that need credit, you will have an opportunity to earn those credits by attending that conference virtually. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak on this platform. I admire, respect your efforts, and it's always a pleasure to share in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you. And it is guest speakers like our Dr. Elmer Huerta that adds great value to the work that the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is doing. Not only Dr. Huerta, but also Astrid Jimenez, who is the executive director for Nueva Vida. Of course, our Emcee, Dr. Alejandra Hurtado de Mendoza, and of course, our board members, Jan Adams, Scarlett Streeter, our great partners like the American Cancer Society, and of course, NCBC. And we wouldn't be complete without adding our audience, and particularly the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund ambassadors. Let me just briefly share a couple of, well, a few things that is important that I share with you. One, I am proud to say that Georgetown University awarded the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund a $5,000 grant to help increase our capacity around raising greater awareness of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund through our communication efforts.
You're muted, Ms. Jones. And congratulations.
Oh, it keeps going on a mute. Maybe if I don't put my hands that way, it won't put me on mute. But thank you, Alejandra. So we want to use that to raise greater awareness, particularly the outreach aspect that Dr. Huerta is talking about. We're printing some very reader-sensitive brochures. This is another thing, we have to meet people on the level that they are. Not for sure if some of you are aware of the education level overall in this country is extremely low, and that things should be written on like less than a 7th grade level. So that is what we're going to be doing with that grant and improving our website and Facebook page. Also, I'll mention again, if you haven't seen our newsletter, you must see it. There's a wonderful article in there about Dr. Huerta where they asked him, where he is asked 4 or 5 different questions. And the way he answered those questions will tell you a lot, not only about him, his advocacy and passion, but it will tell you more about the kind of work we should be doing in terms of boots on the ground. So to change that, remember he said, how do we go from where we are now to a much better healthcare model where people are not using the emergency rooms for their primary care doctors. And also, I wanted to mention that we lost a fellow breast cancer survivor, Jacqueline Perry. I'm not for sure if many of you on this line remembers her, because Jackie was very active with the support group prior to the pandemic. She came to a lot of in-person meeting. So if we just bow our head for a moment of silence for Jackie, I would appreciate that. Thank you. And it is the reason why the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund continues to do what we do, because as Alejandra mentioned earlier, the numbers that Lisa and the American Cancer Society so graciously provided, the numbers are still high. This is America, one of the most industrialized countries in the world. But when we look at our numbers, they're like the numbers in many of our less developed countries. We should be leading the country as a model, and particularly here in the nation's capital. If we aren't at the top, we should at least be doing better than what we are doing. And again, I thank you, Dr. Huerta, for the great work that you are doing. Astrid, for what you and Nueva Vida are doing in the community to not only change the challenges of Latina women, but also to help to bring us together and stay together as a family, because the same challenges that you're having are the same challenges that we're having. And I'd be remiss if I didn't remind us about the 5 cancers that Dr. Huerta mentioned that either have screening or that's preventable with screening. And they are cervical cancer, because you can do the HPV to be vaccinated, breast cancer, mammogram, colon cancer, colonoscopy, lung cancer screening, and prostate cancer screening. So those are the 5 cancers out of, as he mentioned, more than 200. Those are the only 5 ones that have some type of prevention or early detection mechanism. So we have to spread this kind of information. So thank you again, all of you, for being here. And again, we'll be able to show the video probably around tomorrow. And we're going to put this not only on our website, but it will go out through our newsletter. So I will turn this back over for closing remarks for our esteemed Professor Alejandra Hurtado de Mendoza.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I would just like to close by saying how this has been an honor for me to serve as an MC tonight. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining. It was a privilege to hear from all our speakers and learn about the exceptional work they're doing, and that highlights the key role of prevention and early detection. And Ms. Jones, thank you so much for bringing us all together one more time to share key information, to share our stories and our struggles and resilience, and also for bringing our collective strength and commitment to work together to reduce the burden of breast cancer among diverse populations. Thank you.
Thank you. And good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you
See you.
very much.
Good night.
Thank you, Thelma, again. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Noches.